It's really key for you to be engaging in your dialogue with your team. What's going on? Where do we stand? What are we thinking about? What are our time frames? If you can do a reduction in salary, everybody stays employed, right?
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Welcome to my show. Well, with COVID-19, everything is changing and it's coming in fast and furious, especially for business owners who can keep up with all of that paperwork and the things that are changing. So to help sort out fact from fiction, Adam Calli, he is the founder of ARC Human Capital. Adam, thank you for being on the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so people hire you to read all the stuff that they don't want to read, don't they?
And there's a lot to read right now. Yes, sir. You said it.
Well, you were telling me before the show that what happened earlier this week, 100 and how many pages got thrown at people?
Wednesday night, the Department of Labor introduced 124 pages of official guidance. And that followed the 59 frequently asked questions that they had already released, that we were already working to keep up with. In fact, on Saturday, I had a client who was working and was emailing me questions. And I said to her, "Where did you get that?" And she said, "From the Department of Labor." And I said, "Wait a minute, on a Saturday, they released more information?" I had to go read it myself, not realizing that on the weekend, they had introduced additional guidance for the employers out there.
Wow. Well, I love it that you named the company ARC Human Capital, because the company's employees really is their most valuable asset. And we're coming in an uncertain time. Employees are afraid of their job. Bosses don't know whether to lay off or furlough. And there's all kinds of do's and don'ts. So why don't we start with, one of the first big do's and don'ts. What should a boss do if he or she is wondering whether to lay off?
Well, this is as much of a cultural decision as it is a financial decision. And there's a lot of factors to consider. And the first thing that I would advise any organization is plan for the long term. My advice right now is to target July. Maybe it's June, maybe it's August, but July seems to me right now to be a reasonable time frame. So what is it going to take for your organization to survive until July? Because if you plan for May or you plan for late April and you don't make it, everybody's out of a job. And however many years your organization may have existed and the goodwill you've built is gone. So it's very much a financial time. Do the analysis with your CPA, engage with your banker. And over the last few days, the government has been introducing a lot of new resources that's meant to help businesses survive this time. So don't just look at what you got in the bank and what you have immediate access to, but look at those new loan programs, those new grant programs, those new tax credits, because the situation may not be as dire as you think. Having said that, from the financial side, there's a human side, right? That's why I do human resources. It's really key for you to be engaging in your dialogue with your team. What's going on? Where do we stand? What are we thinking about? What are our time frames? If you can do a reduction in salary, everybody stays employed, right? If you can do a reduction in hours, everybody stays employed. Those kinds of things, while not pleasant to you as the business owner, nor pleasant to the employee themselves, are going to be a lot more pleasant than unemployment.
Well, I'll tell you something else that's unpleasant is a lawsuit, and I've noticed that even in the last few days, Jeff Bezos, has gotten himself in a little bit of legal hot water. Shortly after a protester appeared on national television, the protester was fired. So one of the things that you talk about is be safe, but also be legal. Tell us more about that.
A lot of the ways you would have done things before are no longer the way you're going to do them because of these new laws. There is paid sick leave in place now that we've never had before as a nation. There is expanded FMLA. The Family Medical Leave Act has been around since the 1990s. Nothing new there, but it has been expanded both in scope as far as what it covers and in who's covered by it. So as an employer, you may have been like, oh, we're too small, we don't have to worry about that. And in the past, that was correct. And actually still now, for certain portions, it's still correct. But at least through the end of this year, under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, it has expanded. So you need to understand what is the new law, and then how does it apply to my team? And believe it or not, there are some instances, okay, you got to understand the documents here, but there are certain instances where a officer of the organization who is authorized could make the determination that we're going to go for a small business exclusion from portion of the law, the new law applying. So you need to understand what's the law, how does it apply to me, what am I allowed to do, what am I not allowed to do, because a partial exclusion is still only partial. Other things still apply. So I would say this is a time for thinking before speaking.
I love it. And a final question, hire an expert, I guess. I mean, I stopped doing my own taxes years ago because I knew that it would make my head explode to try and do it, and I'd probably get in trouble. It is important to hire an expert, isn't it?
It is, and it's for a couple of reasons. While yes, I just said there's these new laws that have come out, right? The FFCRA is brand new. The CARES Act is brand new, and that's true. But there are numerous laws, as I said, that have been around, one of them since 1938. It's not about knowing what's new. It's about knowing how does what we already know apply in a new scenario, right? So for example, right now, every state of the union has activated the National Guard in response to COVID-19. And there's a particular law that governs, it's called USERRA, the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. That law governs when our men and women in uniform go off to serve the nation. Right now, they're not serving overseas, they're serving right here at home. And that law is not new, and it may not have been something you thought about before because you're only focused on COVID-19, but there you go. That's an instance where those of us who've been doing this for a little while can bring that forward and talk you through all of the aspects of dealing with this challenge.
Wow, you have been great. You'll have to come back again.
I would love to. Thank you.
Adam, what's your website?
It is archumancapital.com.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Adam. We will have to have you back again soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.